Hello and welcome to an irritatingly long episode of Weekly Deathmatch because, I don't know, I've been wanting to include Worms Reloaded or just Worms in general in the Weekly Deathmatch since I began this series over a year and a half ago. But I've only just got around to doing it, and Worms games take a while. This is just a 1v1 map, a 1v1 game, and I'm playing all the characters, which I think is kind of unconventional as far as Worms gameplay goes, but when I grew up as a kid, I would play against myself most of the time because I hated waiting for the CPU to take its turn, because especially in the old Worms games it took a fucking age to think. Nowadays it's not so bad, but and you can play online against other people, but Worms is most fun when you're playing against someone who sat right next to you, which I did a lot of in my childhood and stuff. But I think also it is quite fun I don't get why people say it's not fun playing against yourself, because I mean, sure, you can't do secret plans and all this kind of stuff like, ooh, teleport into a random cave, what are you doing with that guy, or you'll see in a few turns kind of thing. You can't do that, but I mean, a lot of my fun in Worms has just come from kind of, I don't know, just shooting dudes with bazookas and stuff and laughing because they flew off in a funny direction. It's still a good game to me. Obviously it's better multiplayer, but it's still a good single player game to me. And Worms Reloaded is actually probably my favourite version, which apparently is heresy because Worms Armageddon exists. I never liked Worms Armageddon as a kid. I don't know why. I always preferred the original. And I don't know, something about the atmosphere of that game. I need to go back to it and see what it's all about. Maybe it's actually fine. Maybe that will appear in a future Weekly Deathmatch. But technically this is a deathmatch. It's two teams going against each other, trying to kill each other in a match of death. I always thought it would be kind of fun to do a Worms match. Actually, I think I was saving this for an April Fool's joke, but April Fool's passed by nearly a year ago, or maybe I guess 2/3 of a year ago if you want to be specific. And well, I mean, I don't know, I was gonna do Overwatch today, but in the arcade they're like, we'll change everything daily, and the only deathmatch mode available today is Mystery Deathmatch, and I just wanted to play as McCree, so that's not happening. So you've got Worms instead. Hope that's okay. Anyway, yeah, how's your week gone? Mine's been okay. I've gotten into The Witcher 3 after watching The Witcher on Netflix. I don't know if I discussed watching The Witcher on Netflix last... Did I just say Witching the Watcher? No, I'm pretty sure I said Watching The Witcher. Don't know if I discussed that last week. But I did watch that, and as someone who has played about 5 hours of The Witcher 1 and 5 hours of The Witcher 2, I was basically going into that world blind, and I can confirm it's a decent watch for someone who doesn't know what the fuck is going on. I worked it out. The timelines are weird. Everyone was telling me, oh, you have to watch out because the timelines are weird, but it was fine. I worked it out. I think it's very much a case of people who love that world and are very concerned about people going into it blind and not maybe having the best introduction to it because it's not all explained. But I don't think everything has to be explained immediately in fantasy fiction anyway, because that just leads to heavy exposition which can bore the reader. So I think the way they handled it was fine, and I'm looking forward to season 2. And I was like, hey, I bought The Witcher 3 last Halloween of 2018, so I should probably get on to playing that. And I spent most of yesterday just playing Witcher 3. I'm about 12 hours in now, maybe. That's a guess. Hang on, let's look this up. I've got my computer right in front of me. I am 18 hours into it. Okay, I was a little off the mark. I'm 18 hours into it at the minute. I'm having a fantastic time. I've just reached Novigrad. I don't know, however you want to say it. And yeah, my plan for today is to finish rendering this video, eat lunch while doing so, and then get the fuck back to the world of The Witcher, because I'm heavily invested at this point. I'm fully immersed, and this, I can see why people loved this game and called it maybe the game of the decade, last decade, because it's up there for sure. It's funny because there are so many kind of big 80-hour RPGs that I really want to try out, like Dragon Quest 11. I almost bought that on the Switch. I think I talked about this in my Pokemon Sword and Shield Weekly Deathmatch based video. I almost bought that game with some store credit that I had, or the 2-game voucher pass thing, but then Pokemon Sword came out and I ultimately went for that instead. But it's games like this, I load them up, I play them for like 5-10 hours, and I make one of two decisions. Either this is going to be my life for the next month, or I will come back to this when I have time to make it my life for the next month. And for games like Dragon Quest XI, for like Assassin's Creed Origins and Odyssey, what's another good? Because I played the demo of Dragon Quest XI, is what I'm saying. And Breath of the Wild, I go and play in chunks. But it's just games like that where you just have to fully invest yourself in. Because if you're just going to play it for a couple of hours here and there over the course of a few weeks, like, you need to learn combat systems, you're not fully immersed in the story or the world, you maybe don't remember what's going on, and you're just kind of a bit shit at the game. Whereas if you fully dive into that game and play almost nothing else, then you really experience it to its full potential, I think. That's how I got buried into Skyrim, and how I ended up 100%ing that game. Not saying I'm going to 100% Witcher, because Christ, that game has a lot to do. I'm almost overwhelmed by the amount of side quests it throws at me, all of which is actual fantastic story content and not just go pick up 8 slugs for this guy. I don't know why I went to slugs, I've never actually done that in a game. But yeah, Dragon Age Inquisition, that's another one that I played a decent amount of, and then I was like, I'm gonna come back to this when I've got time to continue playing a big chunk. The only thing I regret about all of this is that I ran out of steam playing Elder Scrolls Online, because I've tried to play both The Witcher 3 and the Elder Scrolls Online side by side, but as much as I love the Elder Scrolls Online, as much I will continue to sing its praises, putting it directly next to Witcher 3 just diminishes it. Because it is an MMO and there are some sacrifices it makes, and I just saw what happened on the screen. I forgot I had the grenade equipped. That was meant to be a bazooka I hit the bridge with. I ended up killing my own guy. But yeah, it kind of diminishes how fantastic ESO is, but it also might just be the case that I've played a lot of ESO in the last couple of months anyway. I will probably get more hyped in a week when they announce the Skyrim thing fully and show what that's capable of, but as it's the case with World of Warcraft Shadowlands, I also might just not come back to it until then. I finally played so much Elder Scrolls Online that I'm kind of... well, I'm not out of quests to do. It's like I can go and do a bunch of side quests which to the game's credit are also got good storylines to them and are worth doing on their own. Maybe not so much as The Witcher, but in its own right, it's definitely fun to do side quests in Elder Scrolls Online, and it's rewarding in a meaningful way to the meta, because you're still getting XP and champion levels and all of that. But at the same time, it's like, well, I've done all of the story DLC except Murkmire, which I'm leaving for my Necromancer because he's an Argonian. But at the same time, I don't particularly feel like starting a new character right now. And I could do some of the quests in the other Alliance zones, but at the same time, I'm trying to have a main character for each Alliance to go through those story quests, really, and I don't want to double up on that kind of thing. So I'm kind of a little bit stuck on my main character. I don't really feel like playing any other characters, but I don't know, we'll see. I might get back on the horse. I might get back on the roach. But I'm very much invested in The Witcher 3 at the minute. I'm not really thinking about playing much else. Although, I'll tell you what, I'm reading the backlog of a webcomic called Dark Legacy, which is based in World of Warcraft. Not canonically or like in a lore-friendly way, but more in a... I don't know how to explain it, but you would know it when you saw it, in a kind of way of... the characters are the player characters that exist in that world, and they talk about the world like it's real, but at the same time you know that they know it's a game, if you know what I mean. Like, they're always killing each other because they get resurrected and stuff, and there's funny gags and stuff. Anyway, there's 700 issues about... issues? It's not an official published thing, but there's 700 comic strips that I'm working my way through because it's fun, and even when I'm not playing World of Warcraft, I'm so much in love with that world that I like to kind of experience it peripherally through YouTube news, YouTubers talking about news, or like podcasts talking about it and stuff like that. So even when I'm away from some of these games, I'm never necessarily away from the worlds of those games, because oh boy, real life sure has a lot going on, and it's not fun to exist there, so I'm going to exist in these made up worlds instead. Oh boy, this got real. But going back to talking about Worms for a bit, my first Worms game was the original Worms game on PlayStation 1, and I played it with my dad and my sister a lot, and one of my favourite things to do would be set up matches against myself, where there would be, I guess, 4 teams, and all they would do is use the blowtorch to dig around underground and make like these really long tunnels, and use kamikaze when they were in range with each other. I thought kamikaze was the most hilarious fucking move ever put into a video game, and to be fair, it kind of is. I was playing a game against myself the other day, and Reese was watching me stream it through Discord, and I got a pretty sick kamikaze off. By the way, look at that! That was some luck. I grappled onto a tiny pixel of floating land. That was insane. Anyway, but yeah, Worms has a very soft spot in my heart. In my heart, which I'm only just kind of rediscovering. Like, I haven't launched a Worms game in like 2 years, but I don't know what it was that got me back onto it. Oh, that was it. It was an achievement hunter video. They were playing Worms Ultimate Mayhem, which is a 3D Worms game, but I've never tried. The only 3D Worms game I've played was Worms Forts Under Siege on PS2, which sadly isn't on Steam, which is probably just kind of like a iteration on Ultimate Mayhem or whatever. But anyway, I'm getting away from the point. I like Worms 1. I still go back to that at some point. In fact, the Worms franchise, well, I think it was like a Worms franchise pack, was probably the first thing I bought on Steam, because it had Worms 1, Worms Armageddon, Worms... It wasn't Worms Revolution, I don't have that one. I think I have that on PS3, but it was like, there was something about it I didn't like, so I didn't really play much of it. I have Worms Clan Wars on Steam, and I have Worms Reloaded, and I saw that Worms WMD is now a thing. In fact, I might have that on PlayStation Plus as well, I don't remember. Although I don't currently have PlayStation Plus. By the way, if you've sat through this entire fucking video, thank you, because it has been an extremely rambly one. But yeah, Worms Reloaded is just my favourite because it resembles most closely a game called Worms Open Warfare on PSP, which is actually what this is adapted from, because this particular environment that you're looking at right now, these graphics, they were on PSP, these weapons were on PSP. Worms Reloaded had more stuff on it, more stuff in it, more weapons, more environments, all that kind of thing, but it was adapted from the PSP Open Warfare game, which I played for hours just by myself. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. Famous Worms 1.